Hello and welcome to Create the Flow. I'm Monica Freeman, host and founder of Monica Freeman Studios and Unewell. I am here to guide you in aligning with your soul's purpose, trusting your inner voice, and building a life that you truly love. You were born with a purpose, and your intuition already knows the way. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. I am so happy that you are here. Today's episode is all about operating from hyper masculine energy. And this topic is so powerful. We could unpack this for days, but I will keep it short. I lived in hyper masculine energy the majority of my life without even knowing it. And it is a recipe for disaster. And I don't say that lightly. I say that with love. Now, when you are operating from this hyper masculine energy in business, chances are that you are probably overworking yourself, trying to control all of the outcomes and the reality at all times. You may be fixated so much on the dollar amount and the destination that you are losing sight of your entire business. I know for myself, it was about money. And as most of you know, all business owners experience these ebbs and flows of business where some months are great, some months are kind of at a plateau, and other months aren't as great. That's just what business entrepreneurship feels like, right? And if you're lucky and you are one of these businesses that is able to sustain either that plateau or that growth, well, that's incredible. And I would bet the people that are able to do that, so they are growing, are the people who are operating from masculine and feminine energy in a constructive way. So when I say in a constructive way, I mean, we are always operating from masculine and feminine energy. Everybody on this planet has both inside of us. So it's not necessarily that one is good and one is bad. It's when one is hyper focused and you are operating completely from that. So with me, the way that this looked is I could never make enough money. It did not matter how much money I had. And by the way, as an entrepreneur, I made way more money than I ever have working for anybody else, more money than anybody in my family has ever made. So this should have been something I celebrated. But instead, I felt that nervous system dysregulation of stress, that fight or flight response all the time, and that just uneasiness that I can feel the tension of masculine energy. And again, it is great to have masculine energy. It is great to be proactive, to be organized, to make money, to be streamlined, to have all of the skills that you need in order to sustain that business growth and to build that out. But when you don't have that balance of feminine energy and you are not listening to your body and you're not in that, what I like to refer to, and social media does as well, that soft girl era, you disconnect from your body, your mind, your soul, and you're operating completely from ego, from power, and a lot of times stress. And then you don't get good night's rest. You don't hear your body when it's telling you not to do something. You don't slow down. You don't actually have a methodical way of doing things. You're kind of focused on just one thing at a time. And I know in my now business model, this has really shifted for me because I don't have to work 7 days a week any longer. For a long time, I thought that the harder I work, the more money I would make, the more influence I would have, the more clients I would get because I was showing up consistently every day. I was letting the universe know that I was here, I was doing my part. But I wasn't, because I wasn't hearing what the universe was sharing with me, first of all, because I didn't have soul alignment. So I was missing that. So I wasn't even able to deliver my soul's purpose, but I was also missing the nudges to take rest, the nudges to allow your body to regulate itself. And that, we will create another episode on that, but that alone caused me to take a sabbatical. And I've shared this with you if you're listening on the podcast, YouTube. I know you haven't heard this story before, but I will go into a whole episode. But I had to take a 1-year sabbatical because my nervous system was so dysregulated from that hyper masculine energy, which was really toxic because it is not who I am as a person. I'm an extremely feminine woman. I have high sensitivities. I am fragile, if you will. And I'm aware of that. I'm a soft girl through and through. But I was operating like a hard masculine personality, that almost boss babe. I can be independent. I can control everything. I don't need anybody. And so many people have spoke about this. And I don't know that we've even cracked the code of this, but that energy is just not sustainable. And also, when you start operating from feminine energy, you release control. So when I say you release control, there was a point in time where I never micromanaged my employees, but I never gave them the full tasks that I wanted them to complete because I wanted to control the outcome of how they did it. So I wanted to make sure that I had the finishing touch, like my touch was the best. When co-creation, partnerships, employees, that is the beautiful part about it, is that it's two different personalities, two different creativities, two different, souls aligning. And I missed that in my hyper masculine phase. Now I love the co-creation process. I welcome it. I embrace it. It's honestly the thing that I look forward to the most because I am a student at heart. I will constantly be learning. And if I had allowed all of my employees back then to just shine where they were meant to shine, maybe my business model would have looked a little different. Maybe my nervous system would have been a lot more regulated. Maybe that feminine energy would have been actually shining in my business, but it wasn't. And all of these small things caused me to take, like I said, that 1-year sabbatical. And that's essentially why I'm sharing this episode today, because I think sometimes we don't realize that it's okay to want to be an entrepreneur, and it's okay to want to be a CEO and a visionary and to operate from a place of authority and have influence. All of these things are okay. Whatever your soul is calling in is perfectly okay. And I want you to know that whatever feels good to you, you should continue to do. This episode may not apply to you, but if it does, I want you to know that there is a way to transition into a softer energy and still be successful in your personal life and in your professional life. There is a way to ask for support. There is a way to show up with not such a grind and a hustle that burns you out, but this feeling of I have abundance at all times. And I just think for myself, living in that hyper masculine energy for so long didn't allow me to embrace my authentic self. So I think it's really important when you are living in true alignment and you understand what your body needs, how to work in tandem with that, and even how to co-create with yourself. It's a beautiful feeling when you are in harmony, right? I think what we don't realize is when things are stressing us out and they are pulling us from this to that, and we're just not feeling good, that is our body's way of communicating that's not the thing for us. So a lot of people work really well under pressure. They like grinding at the last minute, that pressure. And it's not necessarily bad stress, because if your body thrives in that environment, then that's healthy for you. But my body does not thrive in that environment. And my business was built on a lot of pressure and a lot of expectations and a lot of things that go back to sustainability. And honestly, everything goes back to sustainability, because we can't sustain things that our body is rejecting. If your body is telling you no, if it's triggering signals, if you're getting headaches, if you're getting burnout, if you are getting lack of sleep, if you are frustrated, resentful, if you start feeling sick, if you have ailments, I mean, so many indicators all happening at once are letting you know that does not work for your business. And I know that you may not be able to hear this right now because I didn't fully understand this when I launched my business. But when you slow down and you listen to your body and you take breaks and you show up authentically and you really just feel good, abundance starts to flow to you. Clients start to appear out of nowhere. Followers start following you on social media. People start buying your products and services. Your world expands. That container of wealth just expands. And this happens in your personal life too. You start to see opportunities all around you and you start to feel that joy. And I think that's part of being present in the journey and not so much in the destination. Because when we are hyper fixated on that masculine energy, we are trying to control the reality. And you can only control what you can control. And you cannot control the future because the future hasn't happened yet. So the only thing that you can do is be aligned in the present so that you can enjoy the journey to get to the future destination. And that is a really hard lesson to learn. I know for myself, the hypermasculine energy, the dysregulated nervous system, the future life that I could see. And I don't mean visualizing the future, the highest self, the embodying of that. I mean working so hard to be ready when you get to the future that then you'll do this thing, that you miss all the things in between. We are so fixated on the goal, the thing that we want, whether it's a dollar amount or an accolade or, some kind of a badge of honor. We are trying to get to the final product. But when you think about it, when you get there, it's the journey, the experience, the blood, sweat, and tears, the moments that created everything that led up to that you remember, that you feel. It's all the emotions. It's not the actual thing that you received. And that's what I'm trying to get you to realize when you are building a business or when you are living in hypermasculinity in your real life, because you're not living in the journey. And again, there is a place for masculine energy and feminine energy. And that is why people who exhibit high masculine and high feminine work really well together most of the time. And that is why when you can use your masculine and feminine energy in tandem with each other where they are working in harmony, you feel aligned and you feel good. But when you are pulling more energy from one and less from the other, there is a chemical imbalance because you create a level of, like I said, that stress response. So you create a level of dysregulation internally because when something is uneven, you're pulling from one thing to get to the other. You're not being able to hold that thing. So there's no balance. And I just know that was one of the hardest lessons. I mean, gosh, there have been so many hard lessons in business. And that's the joy of being an entrepreneur, is the lessons, as being a student, of being malleable and willing to change and learn and be a sponge and absorb everything, right? And the beauty in that is being able to unlearn what you thought was right and learn what does feel in alignment with you. I feel like the last 2 or 3 years, I have unlearned more than I have learned because I am just trying to subtract things that don't feel good to me to feel whole with the things that do before I pack on more of those things. So I am creating space for the new, I guess you can say. And I think this is so important. I talk a lot about personal development on my podcast, and it used to be completely strategy based. And that's because I was operating from masculine energy. Everything was strategy. But when you realize that you cannot build a foundation for success when it is not built from your mindset first, you fail to be successful at being an entrepreneur because you have to have the strength in the hard days. You have to have that growth mindset, that way to regulate your nervous system and bring yourself back to center. You have to be grounded because everything in life is hard, right? There's difficult times, we face challenges. This is life. This is the real world. And it's not just being an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is hard because you're going all in on yourself. You're taking a risk on yourself that you're hoping people will bet on you. So that in and of itself is its own little unique situation. But when you have a good mindset going into anything in life, any obstacle, any journey, any path, any decision, you cannot fail. You can only get to that success because nothing is ever going to be a loss or a failure because you are grounded and you are seeing why things work and why they don't work. You are connecting the dots. You are finding the way. And I think we miss the mark on that a lot of times because we stay in this hypermasculine energy, like I've shared 100 times in this episode. I did that for the majority of my business until I took that sabbatical and I really learned how to heal my nervous system. And once I learned how to heal my nervous system, oh my goodness, was that just like the icing on the cake, because once that happened, I filled all new ingredients in that cake. It was like, wait a minute, this needs to change, that has to change, this has to change. And honestly, I feel like I have a completely different business now because of that. When you get into this high vibe frequency and you are so aligned, you just start feeling it every day. And I'm getting off of topic here because I really want to stay on the masculine, feminine. But to bring this back full circle, what I'm trying to share is it's okay to listen to your body when it says, that doesn't feel right. When it says, I want to cry today and release these emotions. When it says, I don't want to work with this client anymore, or I need a day down. I need a week off. Maybe I need a 1-year sabbatical like I did. It's okay to take time down. It's okay to not feel like you have to hustle and burn yourself out every day. It's okay to get clear about your intentions. It's okay to shift, to pivot, to change. It is okay to reinvent yourself. It is okay to do anything that feels in flow with you. It's great to do like Bill Gates does and take these think weeks, these think days, like take time away and decompress, turn off all technology, release media, just kind of go into the woods, go into your internal, just close off everything. Listen to yourself speak, hear what that inner voice is saying. And if it's saying hypermasculinity works for you, awesome, then do that. But I think there's probably a voice saying we need a balance. We need to slow down. We need to find harmony. And I hope that you find that. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I really, really hope that you are able to take some of these tips, apply them to your business, and build a foundation that is sustainable for you. I will see you on the next one. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you'd like more information, you can follow along on Instagram at Create the Flow Podcast or find me personally at Monica Freeman. And if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to leave a review and share it with a friend.